Hello again, everyone. This is another next clip discusses chapter 4, language in written discourse, part 3. For this part, we will focus mainly on genre, the context of culture in text. Now let's start with the introduction of part 3 with me, everyone. Actually, for text, it is made up of grammatical units such as word, phrases, or even clauses. There must be pattern of cohesion tapping this unit together. In addition, a texter must also involve the text relationship with its context that we focus on coherent. So from the first slide as to the introduction here, we mainly focus on not only the importance of grammatical unit, but we need to focus on the contextualization in the text as well, that is belong to a part of coherent. Next, I would like to go further to another section about generic identity. Actually, for most texts are easily recognizable simply because they are clear in what purpose they fulfill. In other words, their generic identity or organization is familiar. Familiar in terms of what? In terms of the purpose. With problematic text, they don't just add up, display cohesive problem, and show a lack of purpose. So, cohesive problem is one thing, but when the text lack of purpose, it can be a big trouble too. I would like to introduce you another term which is called genre. Genre refers to a static, goal-oriented, purposeful activity in which speakers engage as member of our culture, or how things are done when language is used to accomplish them. This meaning claimed by Martin in 1984. Genre can be recognized as a style of language production that is used fairly consistently in a given context. It can be considered as pattern of language use that are specific to a certain area as well. In different type of writing, we can see different written work as well in terms of paragraph or even essay, such as narrative essay, argumentative essay, expository essay, etc. This text, they can have their own genre as well that can be different from one to one, that we can identify in terms of them specifically. For example, the case of narrative essay, it is commonly organized in a chronological order and uses linguistic element, both lexical and grammatical one, in order to indicate or show the passage in terms of time. Researchers have identified specific language structure, pattern of expression, types of organization, and cohesion that are often used in specific genre. Generic identity of a text, it lies in 3 dimensions. The first dimension is known as register configuration. Second dimension, it is known as schematic structure. And the third one, we call realizational pattern. For register configuration, it means that the genre they can be developed out of a sense of habitualization. That is doing things as habit, that it come from action and then put into pattern and then produce genre eventually. In other words, as situation or context recur or happen again and again, we developed recurrent way of using language. Why do we develop habit, pattern, and genre? Because it can save time and energy. Furthermore, it also to maintain meaningful interpersonal communication among the people as well. Register theory identifies three main dimensions of situation or context. The threefold here are fear, tenor, and mode. Genre come about as particular value for fear, tenor, and mode regularly co-occur in become stabilize. For example, in the context of the genre of buying coffee, in terms of fear, the main topic we discuss coffee. Tenor for the communication, it between the provider of the coffee and the customer. For the mode, in terms of the channel for communication, it can be face to face between customer and provider of the coffee. Schematic structure. It refers to the stack and step-by-step organization of genre. The reason to divide a text into stages is simply that meaning cannot be made all at once. Therefore, we need to have different stages in the genres which contribute to the overall meaning of a text. Describing the schematic structure of genre brings us to two fundamental concepts in linguistic analysis that we call constituency and labeling. For constituency, it means that things are made up of or built out of other things. By the same token, a genre can be made up of constituent stages that we know as constituent structure. The aim is to identify the parts that make up the whole or the different stages that make up a genre. On what basis can we divide a text into its constituent stages? For this question, it's guided in another section about functional labeling. In functional labeling, there are two kinds of criteria that we could use. The first one we call formal criteria, and the second one we call functional criteria. For formal criteria, we could divide the text into stages or parts owing to the form of the different constituents. Regarding this approach, it emphasizes the sameness as we divide the text so that a unit or stack is a constituent of the same type. Regarding functional criteria, we could divide the genre into stages or parts according to the function of the different constituents. For this approach, it emphasizes the different as we divide the text according to the different function of each stack as well. So to sum up, for formal criteria, we refer to the division of the text into different parts. And for functional criteria, when we have the division of the genre into different parts or stages, that we refer to the functional one of different constituents. Regarding the first criteria that I have just mentioned recently about formal criteria. With this criteria, we could see the division of the text into different paragraphs. And then we can have the paragraph into sentences, and then sentences into word. It have, but it's impossible to tell the function of its text clearly and informatively. Regarding the second criteria, the functional one, however, we divide the text into functional constituents. On the top of this one, we recognize as stages only those sentences or group of sentences which fulfill a function relative to the whole text. Now, take a look at this example in order to elaborate more understanding regarding functional want. Let's take the title, Why Do Leaves Change Color in Autumn? Leaves contain red and yellow pigment called carotenoids, but this cannot be seen as they are hidden by the large amount of green chlorophyll in the leaf. Deciduous trees do not grow in autumn, and therefore they need only small amount of food to stay alive. The tree then pulls off their leaf, but before doing this, they break down the green chlorophyll. The substances formed in the breakdown are moved from the leaf to the stem and root. These are used by the tree as food during winter. After the chlorophyll is broken down, the red and yellow pigment in the leaf can be seen because they are no longer hidden by the green chlorophyll. In spring, tiny shoots appear on the tree. These grow and develop into mature leaves until the following autumn, when the whole process begins again. Regarding the above-mentioned text, it contains the following schematic structure that we discuss the function of the genre. First, it is title, introduction, explanation, and conclusion. For the title, we can see, like what I mentioned, it can be in the form of the question, why do leaves change color in autumn? For introduction, it describes, it provides descriptions. So you can see they described the leaf, okay, in which contain red and yellow pigment that we call carotenoid. Okay, but they cannot be seen as hidden by the large amount of the green chlorophyll in the leaf. So this is the basic information that describe about chlorophyll in the leaf, and then they provide the reader explanation. So they provide explanation in sequence, which telling how and why. Okay, so this one you can see from the second one and third one and the fourth one in a sequence way related to the process of chlorophyll. And conclusion, restatement is made regarding the whole process of the chlorophyll of leaf. Next section, I would like to discuss realization element of schematic structure. Realization refers to the way a meaning become encoded or express meaning in a language. In other words, genre is about analyzing language, the word and structure used. Dimension of context can be expressed via the additional meaning, interpersonal meaning, and textual meaning of a text, in which realization pattern will differ across genre. Realization pattern will differ across schematic stages. This is what I mentioned already in the previous clip in terms of the three aspects here. Interpersonal meaning, it talks about how language in the text, which create particular social relationship between the writer and reader, and expresses judgment and attitudes of the writer. For additional meaning, it talks about how text construct particular representation of people, even an idea. For textual meaning, it talks about how texts are organized or method of development to carry different meaning. Schematic structure and realization in the recipe journal. For example, this is the spinach risotto. Take a look at this sketch with me before we go further to discuss about it. This traditional dish of Greek spread origin offer an economical and substantial vegetarian meal. So you can see the recipe from 1 to 1 as instruction. For example, 3 tablespoons olive oil, 2 onion chopped, 1 or 2 bunches, 0 bit or in the spinach, 1 375 gram tinned pear tomato, 2 tablespoon tomato paste, 1 cup water, 1 cup risotto rice, white wine, optional, salt and pepper. Slide the dead ends of the spinach. Slice stalk off from leaf, wash stalk and leaf. Slice stalk finely and shred leaf. In a green saucepan, heat the oil. Fry the onion till soft. Add the stock and fry till the soft. Add the shredded leaf and cook for several minutes. Then add the tomato and tomato paste. Turn low and cook for about 10 minutes. Add water, wine, salt, and pepper. And the rice. Cook until the rice has absorbed the liquid, 10 to 15 minutes. Serve with Greek salad and crust the wholemeal bread. Serve 4. So now, we analyze based on schematic structure from the text that we can have this title, like title, enticement, ingredient, method, and serving quantity. How each step get realized? For title, the use of nominal group or noun phrase. For enticement, it is the use of the be clause with positive attitudinal adjective. For example, like the adjective, namely traditional, economical, substantial, in order to entice reader. Ingredient, they also with the use of nominal group, but of number and measuring word. And method, the use of imperative mode, like ordering. Location, for example, in a large saucepan, time for about 10 minutes, and manner, for example, like tear serve. Serving quantity is the use of elliptical declarative that can be the missing of a few words not in full, like the dish served for. Okay. Another simple example of elliptical declarative, which is excluded from the given example at the moment, like she has 500. You just say C 500, that's in a form of elliptical aspect as well. Okay, thank you for your watching, everyone. See you soon with another last clip that it talk about the last part of chapter 4. See you soon, everyone.